Amara was desperate to escape her ex-boyfriend, so she kissed the first man she saw at the gala. But the man was her boss, and that kiss changed everything. Before we start, please subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you never miss stories like this. Trust me, you won't regret it. Now, here's how it all happened. The gala hall was filled. People everywhere, talking, drinking, and laughing. Amara walked through the crowd in her black dress, trying to look normal. Under the dress, she had bruises. She didn't want anyone to see them. Then she saw Derek, her ex-boyfriend. What was he doing here? The one who gave her those bruises. He was standing by the bar like nothing was wrong. Like he hadn't hurt her. Like the police didn't arrest him and then let him go a few days later. Her heart started racing. She needed to leave. Now. But Derek was already looking at her. A guy walked past Amara and came up with an idea. A crazy idea. If Derek thought she had a new boyfriend, maybe he'd leave her alone. She grabbed the guy that walked past her and kissed him. When she pulled back, she realized who it was. Julian Cross, her boss. People around them gasped. Amara felt dizzy. Everything started spinning. Julian Cross caught before she hit the floor. Julian caught her before she hit the ground. Amara. His voice cut through the noise. People crowded around, but Julian pushed through them. Move. Get out of the way. He carried her straight to his car. Daniel, his security guy, was already there opening the door. Hospital. Now, Julian said. The drive was fast. Amara drifted in and out. She heard Julian's voice, calm and steady, talking to someone on the phone. Yes, emergency. I'm bringing her in now. When she woke up, she was in a hospital bed. White walls, beeping machines, the smell of antiseptic. Julian was sitting in a chair next to her bed. When he saw her eyes open, he leaned forward. Amara? How do you feel? What happened? She whispered. You fainted at the gala. I brought you here. A doctor came in, checked her vitals, asked questions. Amara answered quietly. When the doctor left, Julian's eyes went to her arms. The hospital gown had short sleeves. The bruises were visible. Dark, angry marks. Who did this? Julian asked quietly. Amara's face burned with shame. She wanted to pull the blanket over herself. Her phone buzzed on the side table. A text from Derek. I saw you tonight. You think you can forget me? Think again. Her chest tightened, hands trembling. She fumbled with the phone. Julian saw the screen light up. He saw the message. He didn't ask questions. He just stood up. You're not going back to your place. You're coming with me. Her body wanted to protest. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. She nodded, weakly. After the doctor cleared her to leave, Julian took her to his car. They drove to his place. His security guy, Daniel, was waiting, and Elena, who manages his house. They took her to a quiet room. For the first time in months, she felt like she could breathe. Just a little. But her phone buzzed again. Another message from Derek. You can't hide forever. Amara shivered. Julian stepped closer. Not too close. Not in a way that threatened her. Just close enough to remind her she wasn't alone. You're safe here, he said. For the first time in months, she let her chest relax a little. She wasn't safe yet, but she wasn't completely alone either. Amara lay in bed, arms wrapped around herself. The room smelled nice, like lavender, but she couldn't relax. Every sound made her tense. A soft step, a door closing somewhere in the apartment. Her body reacted before her mind could. Julian didn't come back in. He gave her space, but she knew he was nearby. Her phone lit up. Derek again. You can't hide forever. I'll find you. Her stomach tightened. Her fingers shook as she stared at the screen. She had done everything right before. Reported him. Filed complaints. Watched him get taken in, and then released. She turned the phone face down. She didn't want to see his name again. But the fear stayed anyway. A soft knock came at the door. She froze. It's Julian. Can I come in? She nodded. He came in but left the door open. He sat in a chair by the window. I need to know what's happening, he said. I want you to tell me everything. She stared at the wall. Her throat felt tight. The words didn't want to come out. But slowly, she told him about Derek. How it started small, too many texts, too many questions. Then it got worse. Control, anger, violence. She left him, but he didn't stop. She reported him, and they arrested him. But they let him go. Julian just listened. He didn't interrupt. Daniel, Julian security entered the room. Everything is clear outside. No sign of him nearby. We're watching all channels. Julian nodded. Amara looked up. I don't want him to find me. He won't find you here. Not here, Julian said. That night was hard. She barely slept. But at least she wasn't alone. In the morning, Julian was still awake, watching the security screens. He looked up when he saw her. Did you sleep? A little. That's good enough for now. Her phone buzzed. She froze. Daniel was already there. Don't touch it. We'll handle it. Julian walked over. You're safe here. He can't reach you. Later, Julian mentioned a lawyer. Someone named Claire Donovan who could help. Amara hesitated. You don't have to decide now, Julian said. And you won't face it alone. That mattered more than she expected. Derek was still out there. She knew that. But for the first time in months, she didn't feel completely trapped. The next morning, sunlight came through the blinds. Amara woke up, but she didn't feel better. Derek's messages were still in her head. Daniel was already watching the security cameras. Morning. Nothing unusual, he said. Amara nodded. She picked up her tea, but her hand shook. Julian came in, wearing a suit. He looked calm. You sleep okay? A little. Not much. That's fine, he said. The important thing is you're safe right now. She nodded. It was strange letting someone else tell her she was safe. But with Julian around, the world felt a little less scary. The day went slow. Amara tried to focus on small things. Emails, cleaning her room, planning. Julian checked on her sometimes, but he wasn't pushy. Daniel kept watching the monitors. Elena made sure she ate. Late afternoon, her phone buzzed. Derek. The number was blocked, but she knew it was him. Daniel reacted fast. Don't touch it. We've got this. Julian came closer. He won't reach you. Not here. Not while we're around. Amara took a deep breath. She knew Derek was dangerous. She knew he wouldn't stop just because of locks and cameras. Later, Julian talked about the lawyer again. Claire Donovan. She handles protective orders. Amara didn't want to tell her story again. She hated dealing with the system. But Julian didn't push. He just said, you won't go through it alone. Claire will handle the legal stuff. You just focus on you. The meeting was hard but necessary. Amara explained everything. Derek's obsession, the abuse, the threats. Claire listened. Professional and firm. We'll file a permanent protective order. If he comes near you again, the police can act right away. Amara felt a small relief. Not total safety, but at least a plan. That night, Derek showed up at a nearby event. Uninvited. His eyes found her immediately. Amara froze. Julian noticed right away. He stepped close. His hand brushed hers, just quick and light, not holding. But it was enough to steady her. Security moved fast. Daniel and his team got Derek out before he could reach her. Amara's knees shook. Later, when everything was quiet, Julian sat near her. He didn't reach for her or lean in. He just said quietly, you survived today. That matters. You matter. Amara blinked back tears. Months of fear pressed down on her, then lifted a little. It wasn't love, not yet. But trust was starting. Small and fragile, but real. She realized Derek's obsession wouldn't end easily. But she was getting stronger. Julian's presence didn't erase the danger, but gave her protection she didn't have before. That night, Julian stayed in the living room, watching but not hovering. For the first time in months, she didn't feel completely powerless. The fight wasn't over, but maybe she had a chance. Amara woke to city sounds outside. Sunlight cut across the floor. But her mind was on Derek. Even with the protective order filed, she knew he wouldn't stop. He was too obsessed. Julian came in with tea. You need to get your things from your apartment, he said. Daniel and security will go with you. Her stomach dropped. Going back to that place, where Derek had controlled everything, where fear lived in every corner, made her sick. I don't know if I can, she said, voice shaking. Julian didn't push. You can. You won't be alone. Daniel, Elena, and I will be there. The drive was tense. Every face on the street made her flinch. She imagined Derek everywhere. Daniel and guards were around the car. Julian sat in front. When they got there, Amara took a deep breath. The building looked normal, but felt wrong. She felt small and scared, but also determined. This was her life. Derek wouldn't take it again. Inside, she moved fast. grabbing clothes, personal stuff. Every noise outside made her heart pound. Then she saw him, Derek, across the street, staring at the building. She froze. Julian noticed. "Stay calm," he said, touching her arm lightly. Not grabbing, just grounding. "He won't get to you." Security moved. Derek banged on doors, yelled her name, but couldn't get through. Police came fast. They already knew he might show up. Derek was arrested, shouting and threatening, but powerless. Amara's knees went weak. Julian steadied her. She shook, not just from fear, but from relief. Months of tension finally breaking. Back at the penthouse, she met with Claire to finalize everything. Claire's voice was firm. "Permanent protective order granted. Derek can't contact you, approach you, or interfere. Any violation means immediate arrest." Amara felt weight lift. Not total freedom. Derek could still try, but legal protection made it real. Julian stayed nearby during the meeting. Quiet, watching, not lecturing. Just there. After Claire left, Julian spoke. "You were brave today." Facing him, taking back your space, that took real strength. Amara wanted to argue, to say she was terrified the whole time. But no words came. She just nodded. There was a pause. Julian's face softened. Not romantic, not yet, but full of concern and respect. She noticed it. Something inside her shifted. Maybe trust, maybe hope. That night, lying in the guest room, Amara thought about Derek, the fear, the anxiety, the control. But she also thought about Julian, his patience, the space he gave her, how he never pushed. A knock. Julian came in with tea. "Thought you might want something warm." "I don't want to be a burden," she said. "You're not," he said simply. "You've been through too much. This is the least I can do." She took the tea. The warmth felt good. Small comfort. Simple kindness. For the first time in months, someone was truly on her side. Outside, the city kept moving. Derek was still dangerous, still obsessed. But Amara had people now. Julian wasn't just her boss anymore. He was protecting her. Slowly, she realized trust could exist again. Her phone buzzed. Another message from Derek. But she didn't panic. Daniel stopped it before she could see. Julian's calm eyes met hers. Protective. For the first time in months, Amara felt some control. Not complete. Not yet. But enough. The next week, Amara tried to get back to normal. Mornings were slow. Tea, stretching, small steps. Julian stayed nearby, but didn't hover. Daniel watched security. Elena kept the house running. But peace didn't last. It started with a call. Blocked number. Amara froze, heart pounding. She didn't answer. Daniel's voice was calm. "Don't worry. He can't reach you here." Later, a package came. No return address. Inside was a note. "You can't run forever. I'll find you." Amara's hand shook. Julian was nearby. "He's crossing lines," he said quietly. "But you're safe. I'll make sure." She wanted to say she could handle it alone. But she couldn't. Not yet. Julian didn't force anything. He just offered to be there. That was enough. The next day, Julian took her to the courthouse. She had to finalize more legal protection against Derek's harassment. Sitting in the courtroom, she felt anxious. Seeing him, even from far away, made her pulse race. She gripped a water glass, breathing deep. Julian stayed beside her, quiet and steady. Claire presented the evidence. Derek's obsessive messages, past incidents, threats. Amara spoke clearly, though her voice shook when she talked about the gala. The judge's gavel came down. Protective orders extended. Any violation meant arrest. She felt relieved. A small weight lifted. Back at the penthouse, Julian said calmly, "You handled that well. That's progress." Amara looked at him. It didn't feel like progress. It felt terrifying. "And that's okay," he said. "Fear doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. You survived today. That matters." The connection between them grew. Amara realized Julian wasn't just protective. He was patient and let her keep control. But Derek wasn't done. That night, cameras caught him near the building, looking in windows. Security moved fast. Daniel stopped him. Julian stayed close to Amara, grounding her without smothering. She watched Derek's van leave on the cameras. She was tense but steadier. Real people were on her side. Fear was there, but she could manage it. Later, Julian found her in the study, staring at the city. "You're stronger than you think," he said. "I don't feel strong," she admitted. "I feel scared all the time. That's why I'm here," he said. "Not to erase your fear, but to help you face it. No pressure, no expectations, just support. Different from anyone before. Safe, respectful." Over the next few days, she started doing normal things again. Making breakfast, organizing, even laughing at a joke Julian made. Every small moment of normal life helped. Still, Derek was a shadow. Messages, sightings near her old place, calls that didn't go through. The fight wasn't over, but Amara felt like she could respond now. Protect herself. Julian didn't rescue her. He supported her, gave her tools, kept her safe. Trust was growing. That night, thinking about everything since the gala, the kiss, her collapse, moving to the penthouse, the court hearing, she realized something. Fear had ruled her life for months. But now, she could imagine a future where she wasn't just surviving. She could actually live. And Julian, there was something about how he watched over her, steady and caring, that made her heart feel things she hadn't allowed in years. Outside, the city kept going. Derek's obsession was still real. Danger was still there. But inside the penthouse, Amara slowly began taking back her life. Piece by piece, Amara sat on the sofa, holding warm tea. The penthouse was quiet and safe. Julian moved around calmly, checking in without hovering. He made sure she had what she needed. Her phone buzzed. Blocked number. Her stomach dropped. Derek. Daniel was already watching cameras. He stopped the call before she could look. Julian's eyes met hers. Calm, but alert. "He's testing. Don't respond. We'll handle this." Minutes later, the security feed showed something. Derek was at the building. Not just watching. He was trying to get in, climbing the emergency stairs. "Stay calm," Julian said. Firm but steady. His voice kept her grounded. He didn't grab her or pull her away. Just presence. Solid. Daniel and his team moved fast. Derek was caught on camera before reaching the terrace. Police came quickly and arrested him. Amara's chest heaved. She wanted to cry, shake, scream. Relief and fear mixed together. Julian stayed near, his hand brushing hers lightly. She felt it. The connection, the protection, the respect. Later, when Derek was taken away for violating the order again, Julian spoke quietly. "You didn't fail. You stayed calm. You're stronger than you think." "I was terrified. I still am," she admitted. "That's okay," he said. "Fear doesn't make you weak. It shows you're human. But you faced it and survived." For the first time in months, Amara let herself believe she could exist without constant fear. Survival didn't always mean hiding. Days passed. Derek's arrest gave her some safety. But she knew healing wasn't instant. Each morning, she stretched, wrote in a journal, even laughed at small jokes Julian made. Every tiny routine was a win. Julian stayed patient. He never pushed, never demanded thanks. He checked in, gave advice, kept her safe, and let her lead. That steady attention built something fragile but real: trust. One evening, Julian asked her to join him on the balcony. City lights sparkled below. "You're doing well," he said quietly. "Better than you realize." Amara looked away. "It doesn't feel like it. I'm scared all the time." "And that's okay," he said gently. "Being afraid doesn't erase your strength. You're still here. You're still moving forward. That matters." She looked at him. No pressure, no expectations, just being there. Care, respect, something she hadn't felt in years. That night, sleep came easier. No collapsing, no panic in the dark. Julian stayed in the living room, watching but not hovering. For the first time, she realized safety could exist even when danger was still outside. In the weeks after, small wins piled up. Amara went back to her apartment with police there, got her personal stuff, and started returning to normal life. Julian went with her quietly, protective but not hovering. They shared quiet moments. Morning coffee, soft smiles, small jokes. Nothing forced, nothing rushed. Amara tested trust, tested comfort, and Julian's patience never broke. One quiet night in the study, Julian gave her a folder with Derek's recent court documents. He paused. "You're safe," he said softly. Not just because of security or police, but because you face this. You're stronger than he ever was. Her eyes met his. Something unspoken passed between them. Understanding danger, survival, trust. No love confessed yet. Just acknowledgement. Amara realized this connection with Julian wasn't about depending on him. It was choice. She could lean on him, trust him, and she wanted to. For the first time, she didn't feel guilty for needing someone by her side. Outside, the city hummed. Derek was blocked by legal action for now, but she knew obsession didn't disappear overnight. Yet inside the penthouse, she could breathe. She could exist without terror. And in Julian's calm, patient presence, she realized trust, and maybe something deeper, could exist again. Amara was slowly rebuilding her life. Each morning, she woke a little earlier, stretched, and had coffee while the city woke up outside. Fear was still there, like a shadow, but it didn't control her anymore. Julian watched quietly from his office, never hovering, just observing. Daniel monitored all entrances. Elena kept giving gentle guidance, never overstepping. One afternoon, Julian suggested she start working on small projects again, things she'd abandoned during months of terror. She hesitated, nervous, but he said calmly, "You can do this, and you're not alone." With that quiet push, Amara started checking emails and organizing schedules. Each small task built her confidence. Julian never hovered or controlled her. He only stepped in when needed. His presence was steady and supportive. But Derek wasn't done. That evening, cameras caught him near a park where Amara sometimes walked. "He's escalating," Daniel said, tense. Julian's jaw tightened. "We'll adjust security. She won't face him alone." Amara heard them. Fear flickered, but it didn't freeze her this time. She had plans, protection, and people on her side. Later, Julian came to her as she got ready for a short terrace walk. "It's okay to feel scared," he said softly. "But you're stronger than the fear. Let's go together." She looked at him, surprised by the gentle offer. Not a command, just a choice. She nodded, and they went out. City lights sparkled below. For a moment, Derek's shadow didn't exist. They walked quietly. No words, just being there. Julian's calm gave her a shield, letting her feel safe without taking away her independence. Back inside, Julian poured 2 glasses of wine. Nothing romantic, just a small, normal gesture. Amara noticed how relaxed she felt with him. His presence invited trust instead of demanding it. Days later, Derek made another move. Despite the protective order, he tried to get near the penthouse through a side street. Cameras caught him, Daniel's team stopped him, and police came. Derek was arrested again. Amara felt relief wash over her. She had faced her fears, survived direct threats, and stayed in control. Julian stayed nearby, his hand brushing hers briefly. She realized the danger was contained. In the quiet penthouse, Julian spoke softly. "You did something amazing. You didn't just survive, you acted. You took back your space. You protected yourself. That matters." Gratitude and warmth swirled inside her. She realized she trusted him. Not because she had to, not because she was forced, but because she chose to. Later, as she got ready for bed, Julian checked in one last time. He didn't linger or hover. He just made sure she was safe, then left with quiet reassurance. Amara lay awake, thinking about the months behind her, the collapse at the gala, the endless messages, the fear, and now, slowly, control coming back. Derek was still a threat, but she didn't feel powerless anymore. She had people, plans, and strength to take back her life. And Julian, thinking of him, brought a new feeling, a subtle warmth, a quiet trust, a spark she hadn't allowed herself in years. Not love yet, but something deeper, built on respect, patience, and care. For the first time, she realized she could face the world without fear eating her alive. She could make her own choices. And maybe, someday, she could let herself feel something more for the man who had quietly, patiently protected her without asking for anything back. Outside, the city slept. Derek was still a shadow, a reminder of danger. But inside the penthouse, Amara felt freedom starting. Freedom from fear, freedom to choose, freedom to live. And that freedom, fragile, growing, was hers. That morning, the penthouse felt tense. Julian added extra security after spotting weird activity nearby. Cameras picked up a van parked across the street. Derek. Amara's chest tightened, but panic didn't take over. She had plans, people, and someone who had her back. Daniel and his team were already tracking every move. Julian came in quietly. "He won't get to you," he said calmly. "Not today." Amara nodded, gripping the sofa. Her heart raced, but she felt steadier than before. She'd taken back some control, and this was another challenge she could face. The van moved slowly, circling the block. Derek was trying to scare her. Daniel's team tracked him while talking to police. Julian stayed near, his calm presence steadying her without smothering. Minutes later, police stopped Derek's van. He was arrested for breaking the protective order again. Amara breathed out, relief mixing with exhaustion. Julian moved to her side, quiet for a moment. Then he said softly, "You did it. You stayed calm. You faced him. And now he's gone." Tears filled Amara's eyes. "I thought I'd never feel safe again." "You are safe," Julian said. "Not just because of security or the law, but because you claimed your strength." Relief hit fully. Months of fear and anxiety seemed to lift. She leaned back, tears falling, and Julian stayed near, offering quiet support. That evening, with Derek in jail, Julian suggested going back to her apartment. They went with police escort. Amara packed her stuff, clothes, photos, keepsakes. Each piece felt like getting herself back. Julian was there the whole time, not controlling, just steady. When she paused in an old photo, lost in thought, he asked gently, "Do you want to keep it?" Amara nodded. "Yes, I want to remember who I am, not just what happened." Outside, city lights sparkled. Derek's shadow no longer hung over her. Inside, she felt safe, strong, and ready to choose her future. And in those quiet moments, she admitted what had been growing for weeks: a patient, steady affection for Julian, a trust born from respect, shared experience, and unwavering support. For the first time in months, Amara could see a life where she wasn't just surviving. She was living, and she was choosing that life freely. The weeks after Derek's permanent protective order were calm, almost peaceful. Amara no longer jumped at unexpected sounds or messages. Each morning, she woke with purpose, doing things she'd abandoned during months of fear. Julian's presence stayed steady, never pushy, always supportive. Daniel and Elena continued their quiet work. The penthouse finally felt like home, not a fortress. Amara gradually went back to work. She handled emails, organized schedules, and led small projects with growing confidence. Every decision reminded her she was in control again. She wasn't a victim. She was living her life. One afternoon, Julian joined her on the terrace. A rare smile touched his lips. "You've come a long way. From fear to this strength." Amara looked at the city below, lights glittering as the sun set. She felt the weight of her survival, the depth of her life coming back. "I never thought I'd get here." "You did," Julian said, meeting her eyes. "And you did it yourself. I only stood beside you." She smiled, genuine and warm. "You stood beside me better than anyone could. Quiet, patient, protective without taking control. I didn't realize how much that mattered until now." For a long moment, they just looked at each other. The danger was gone, replaced by the possibility of something new, a connection built on trust and respect. That evening, Amara went out alone for the first time in months, a quiet celebration of independence. Julian, at the door, said simply, "Enjoy tonight. You've earned it." At the event, she moved through the crowd confidently, free from fear. Derek's absence brought relief. She could finally exist without constantly watching her back. The air felt lighter. Coming back to the penthouse, Julian greeted her with a quiet smile. "You did well." Amara felt warmth rise in her chest. "I did. And thank you for everything." "You don't need to thank me," he said, voice low, intimate. "You earned it all. You chose strength, took back your life. I only made sure you could." The word stayed with her. Julian reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. It was small, deliberate, tender. Amara's heart skipped. She realized her trust had grown into something deeper. "I trust you," she whispered, "with more than just my safety." Julian's eyes softened, a faint smile on his lips. "And you can, whenever you're ready. No pressure, no expectations, only trust." For the first time, Amara allowed herself to believe in a future not ruled by fear. She had faced the darkest parts of her life and came out stronger. And Julian was there, respectful, patient, loving in his quiet way. Weeks later, she paused in the quiet penthouse, looking out at the city lights. Derek was gone, permanently. The fear that once ruled her thoughts had faded, replaced by confidence and control. Julian appeared with 2 mugs of tea, handing her one and standing silently beside her. Amara looked at him, warmth filling her chest. "Thank you for staying," she said softly. "For what?" he asked. "For letting me fight my fears without taking them from me. For trusting me, respecting me, protecting me without controlling me." Julian held her gaze. "Because that's what you deserved. That's what you earned. And I care." She smiled, the first full smile in months. "I care too. More than I expected." They stood together, quiet, sharing the moment. Their connection had grown slowly, patiently, built on trust and respect. Not sudden, not forced, perfectly real. For Amara, life had shifted from survival to choice. She could decide how to live, whom to trust, and how to love. Julian had proven himself worthy, not a savior, but a partner. The city stretched endlessly below. Amara felt freedom in her chest, a heart ready to live fully again. Julian reached out, holding her hand. Small, intimate, unspoken, but full of promise. Patience, respect, partnership. Amara squeezed his hand gently. For the first time in months, she felt truly safe. Not just from Derek, not just in her home, but with someone she trusted, respected, and cared for. As the night went on, city lights glowing beneath them, she knew one thing. She had taken back her life. Fear no longer controlled it. She was free. Amara was getting used to her new normal. Working as Julian's secretary, living freely, no longer looking over her shoulder. Derek was gone. Life felt possible again. Then Victoria showed up. Amara was bringing files to Julian's office when she heard a woman's voice. Cold, confident, demanding. "Julian, darling, we need to talk." Amara froze outside the door. "Victoria, we have nothing to talk about," Julian said, voice tight. "Oh, I think we do." Victoria's heels clicked across the floor. "I've been talking to the investors. The Shanghai deal? The merger with Westfield Corp? They're all waiting for my word." "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about us, Julian. You and me. We were good together. We built an empire together. And I'm willing to come back. Under one condition. Silence. Marry me. Announce our engagement. Show everyone that Julian Cross is a stable, committed man. Not someone who's shacking up with his damaged little secretary." Amara's stomach dropped. She felt sick. "You need to leave. Now," Julian said, voice like ice. "Think about it, Julian. The business you've built, everything you've worked for, I can destroy it with one phone call. Or I can make you richer than you've ever dreamed. Your choice. But if I see you with that girl again..." Victoria's voice dropped. "Well, let's just say her life will get very complicated." Amara backed away from the door, heart pounding. She didn't hear the rest. She just walked back to her desk, hands shaking. Was she ruining his life? Everything he'd built? For the next few days, Julian seemed stressed. Tense. He took more calls behind closed doors. Victoria's name kept coming up in meetings. Amara tried to stay professional, but inside, she was breaking. Maybe she should quit. Maybe she should disappear. Julian deserved better than this mess. Then came the business gala. It was huge. Investors, executives, media everywhere. Julian had to attend. Amara went as his secretary, keeping things professional. But when she arrived, she saw them. Julian and Victoria. Victoria was draped on his arm, laughing, touching his shoulder, posing for cameras. She looked perfect, elegant, powerful, like she belonged there. Amara felt small, invisible. She turned to leave. Then she heard Victoria's voice, low and sharp. "Smile, Julian. In 10 minutes, You're announcing our engagement. I've already told the press. Amara's heart stopped. Julian's jaw was tight. I'm not doing this. Then say goodbye to your company. I'll pull every investor by morning. Amara watched Julian's face. He looked trapped, defeated, and something inside her snapped. She'd spent months being afraid, being controlled, being silent. Not anymore. She walked straight through the crowd. People turned, watching. Cameras swiveled. Julian saw her coming. His eyes widened. Amara. She didn't let him finish. She grabbed his face and kissed him. Right there, in front of everyone. Cameras flashed. People gasped. Victoria's mouth fell open in shock. When Amara pulled back, her heart was racing. But she didn't feel scared. She felt alive. I'm done hiding, she said, looking straight at Julian. I'm done being afraid. And I'm done letting people control my life. Julian stared at her, something shifting in his eyes. Then he smiled, really smiled, and pulled her close, kissing her again. The room exploded with whispers and camera flashes. Victoria's face turned red. You'll regret this, she hissed at Julian. No, Julian said calmly, arm around Amara. I won't. Do your worst, Victoria. I'm done playing your games. Victoria stormed out, furious. Later, away from the crowd, Julian and Amara stood alone on a quiet balcony. City lights sparkled below them. You just risked everything, Julian said softly. So did you, Amara replied. He turned to face her, taking her hands. I need to tell you something. I've been trying to find the right time, but there isn't one. So I'm just going to say it. Amara's heart pounded. I care about you, Amara. Not because you needed help. Not because I felt sorry for you. But because you're brave and strong and real. I've cared about you since the night at the gala. And every day since, I've just cared more. Tears filled her eyes. I thought I was ruining your life. You saved it, he said. You made me remember what matters. Not business. Not deals. Just this. Us. I was so scared, she admitted. Scared of feeling this. Scared it was just gratitude or trauma or... It's not, Julian said firmly. I know the difference. And so do you. She looked at him, really looked at him. And she knew he was right. I care about you too, she whispered. More than I thought I could care about anyone again. Julian smiled and kissed her forehead. Then that's all that matters. They spent the next hour just talking. About life, about dreams, about stupid things that made them laugh. It felt easy, natural. When he drove her home that night, he held her hand the whole way. Over the next few weeks, they went on real dates. Movies, dinners, walks through the city. Julian made her laugh, really laugh. She met his friends. He met hers. They took it slow, but it didn't feel slow. It felt like finally being alive. Victoria tried to pull investors. Some left, but others stayed, and new ones came. Turn out, people respected Julian more for choosing love over money. The business survived, and so did they. One night, lying on his couch watching a terrible movie, Amara looked at Julian and realized something. She wasn't just safe. She wasn't just surviving. She was happy, and she was in love. Months passed. Good months. Happy months. Amara woke up every day without fear. She went to work, came home, lived her life. Derek was a bad memory, nothing more. Victoria had disappeared, off to ruin someone else's life. And Julian was everything. He made her coffee in the mornings, left little notes on her desk, remembered every small thing she mentioned. He didn't just love her, he saw her. One evening, Julian was acting strange, distracted, nervous even. You okay? Amara asked. Yeah, he said quickly. Just thinking. She didn't push, but something was definitely up. The next day at work, Elena appeared at Amara's desk with a large gift box. From Mr. Cross, Elena said with a knowing smile. Inside was a beautiful dress, deep blue, elegant, with a note. Wear this tonight. I'm taking you somewhere special. Amara's heart fluttered. What's tonight? Elena just smiled. You'll see. That evening, Julian picked her up at his car. He looked nervous, excited. He wouldn't tell her where they were going. They drove through the city as the sun set, painting everything gold and pink. Finally, they pulled up to a building Amara didn't recognize. Where are we? She asked. You'll see. Julian said, taking her hand. He led her inside and up an elevator. When the doors opened, Amara gasped. They were on a rooftop, but not just any rooftop. There were lights everywhere, tiny fairy lights strung across the space like stars. A small table set for two, candles glowing softly. Flowers, her favorite flowers, in vases all around. Soft music played from hidden speakers. And the view, the entire city stretched out below them, glittering and alive. Julian, Amara breathed. What is this? He smiled, pulling out her chair. Your birthday. She blinked. My birthday? That's not for. She stopped. Check her phone. It was her birthday. Midnight had just passed. I've been planning this for weeks, Julian said, sitting across from her. I wanted it to be perfect. Dinner was incredible. Not fancy restaurant food, it was homemade. Julian had cooked it himself. Her favorite pasta, garlic bread, even the dessert she'd mentioned once months ago. They ate and talked and laughed. Amara felt like she was floating. I can't believe you did all this, she said. You deserve it, Julian said simply. You deserve everything. After dinner, he stood and held out his hand. Dance with me? There's no music, she said. He pressed something on his phone. A slow song started playing. One she loved. They danced under the lights, the city below them, the stars above. Amara rested her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Amara, Julian said softly. She looked up. His eyes were serious, tender, full of something she couldn't name. A year ago, my life was just business, deals, money, success. I thought that's all there was. Then you crashed into my life, literally, and everything changed. Her heart started racing. You've been through hell, and you came out stronger. You didn't let fear win. You didn't let anyone break you. You're the bravest person I've ever met. Tears filled her eyes. Julian took a deep breath. I don't want to spend another day without you. I don't want to wake up unless you're there. I don't want to build a life unless you're in it. He got down on one knee. Amara's breath caught. Julian pulled out a small box. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, perfect. Amara Cole, he said, voice shaking slightly. Will you marry me? Tears spilled down her cheeks. Her hands covered her mouth. All she could do was nod. Yes, she finally whispered. Yes, yes. Julian stood, sliding the ring onto her finger, and kissed her, deep and tender and full of promise. When they pulled apart, both of them were crying and laughing at the same time. I love you, Julian said. I've loved you for months. I just didn't know how to say it. I love you too, Amara said, holding him tight. So much. They stayed on that rooftop for hours, talking, dreaming, planning. She told him about the life she wanted, quiet and simple and full of love. He told her about the life he wanted, with her in it, always. When they finally left, Amara kept looking at the ring on her finger. It caught the light, sparkling like the city around them. A year ago, she'd been terrified, broken, trapped. Now she was free, happy, loved. She'd survived Derek. She'd survived fear. She'd reclaimed her life. And now she was choosing her future. With Julian. With love. With hope. As they drove home, hands intertwined, Amara looked out at the city and smiled. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was living. And she was exactly where she was meant to be. Amara had faced her darkest fears and came out stronger. She learned that safety wasn't just about protection. It was about choice. She chose to trust. She chose to love. She chose to live. And with Julian by her side, she was finally truly free. This wasn't just survival. This was life. And it was beautiful.